Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video, weekend forecast for today's video. So as always on a Saturday we're having a look at the weather for the week ahead, and it's going to be a week of change. We've been in the freezer so far this December. It's been a very cold December. More about that in today's 10 to 14 days. Certainly the first half of December been very cold. Have more about that later. But we're coming out of the freezer now, so if you don't like the cold weather, if you're fed up of it, if you're worried about your bills, then milder air is on the way by Monday. We're all going to be feeling much milder. Remember, coming week is going to be unsettled with bouts of wind and rain off the Atlantic, especially for England and Wales, and temperatures will be relatively mild. We will start to pull cold air back into Scotland, though, towards the end of the week. And then that takes us into a rather uncertain Christmas, but it looks as though Christmas probably won't be particularly cold away from Scotland. But more about that later on in the forecast. So I'll go with that for you in a moment. Just say that first, a video saying was our 6 a.m. upload, and we've also released the E7WF 42-day forecast as well, so check out those two videos. Got the 10 to 14 day coming up for you later on today, so busy old day at GavsWeatherVids today. Please like, share, subscribe on videos. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much to Weather Outlook, and also to Weather for supplying the charts, of course. So we'll start off with the radar picture then. So we've had some wintry showers in the north and west of Scotland. These showers up here have been giving a wintry mix of rain, sleet and snow. We've also had a more general area of rain, sleet and snow through parts of northwest England and back into Wales as well. Otherwise, a lot of dry weather around with bright or sunny spells. There is a lot more cloud around than has been the case over recent days. And temperatures, while it's cold, have lifted up a little bit today, or are lifting up a little bit today. So there is a gradual fall of lying snow and ice beginning to take place. We're losing the blocking. This is the big area of high pressure that's been blocking around Greenland and Iceland through the first half of December and has delivered this cold weather. That is reducing now and moving more towards the Canadian side of Greenland, possibly to bring some very cold weather into North America. But for us, low pressure in the Atlantic is starting to push in as the block reduces. You know, the block's been keeping these areas of low pressure at bay, but as the block reduces and moves towards Canada, then these areas of low pressure can finally start making progress in from off the Atlantic Ocean. So, for the rest of today, we're going to have further wintry showers in the north and west of Scotland. That area of rain, sleet and snow will turn increasingly towards rain across northwestern England and Wales. However, as that falls on its frozen surfaces, it could well give some icy stretches. Otherwise, a lot of dry weather around today with bright or sunny spell, but also quite a lot of cloud making sunshine hazing at time. Temperatures are still cold, ranging from around freezing to plus 5 degrees, but not as cold as it has been over recent days. Overnight tonight, this area of low pressure is deepening in the Atlantic and pushing towards us, so by the end of the night we're going to find outbreaks of rain arriving across the far southwest of England. However, most places will be dry tonight with clear spells, be wintry showers, and that longer area of rain, sleet and snow will die out through this evening, and then we're going to basically have a dry night in most parts of the country away from far southwest. There will be another very cold night in the north. Temperatures will go down to minus 10 over the snowfields of Scotland. Temperatures widely down below freezing tonight, so another frosty, icy night with temperatures around minus 3, minus 4, minus 5 in many areas. But this will be the final frosty night because tomorrow low pressure comes in from off the Atlantic and we change the wind direction. We start pulling up a much milder southwesterly. So we'll start off with outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern England. So that will be heavy and persistent. Elsewhere, a dry, frosty, icy start, and then that cloud, wind and rain will spread northwards and eastwards. The rain could well turn to snow on its leading edge. Even across parts of the Midlands and eastern England, we might get a few minutes of snow, you know, a little bit of snow on the leading edge of that band of rain, but it will turn rapidly back to rain across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Whereas for the far north of England into Scotland, actually might have a spell of snow for a while. It could last a couple of hours before it eventually turns back to rain. Also, watch out for freezing rain tomorrow as this wet weather falls onto the frozen ground. Been cold and frosty for several days now, so it's going to take a while to lift frost out of the ground. And as this rain falls onto frozen surfaces, yes, there is a risk of a little bit of freezing rain and some sheet ice in some places, so that will be something to watch out for too. It's going to be a windy day, with winds going up to around 40 to 50 mile an hour inland and possibly 60 mile an hour gusts around Atlantic and Irish Sea coast. It'll be a cold day as well, Temperatures in most parts only around freezing 1 to 3 degrees, although by the end of the afternoon we get a temperature possibly at around 13 degrees, 55 Fahrenheit in the far southwest of England, and those milder temperatures will be pushing steadily northwards and eastwards then into Sunday evening and overnight Sunday into Monday. So Monday looks like that, very different day. Low pressure is in control of weather, bringing wet and windy weather across many parts of the country, so we'll have showery outbreaks of rain really coming and going through much of the day. The rain particularly focused on England and Wales, I think, a little bit less so for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. And it'll be another windy day as well, with winds again gusting to around 40 miles an hour in some places. Temperatures will be mild, so despite all this wind and rain, at least it will be mild. I haven't been able to say that for a while, with temperatures ranging from around 8 to 13 degrees. That's 46 to 55 in Fahrenheit. And after all of the cold weather, it will feel extremely balmy across most parts of the country. Moving through Tuesday, low pressure remains in control of the weather, so we get rid of the wet weather overnight Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday probably has a dry start with sunny spells. There'll be blustery showers across northern and western parts of the country. England and Wales might get a longer spell of rain pushing up from the southwest on this trough later on in the afternoon and into the evening. That's a little bit uncertain. Temperatures actually back a little bit, but still pretty mild in the south, ranging from around 9 to 12 degrees. Further north, we'll see the temperature edging back down closer to average there, probably around 4 to 7. Low pressure continues to dominate weather on Wednesday. We're between lows actually on Wednesday, so that first low is to North Scotland, next low waiting in the wings. So Wednesday will probably start off mostly dry and bright, and could be a bright and dry day in many areas, but by the end of the day, through the afternoon, we'll find further wet and windy weather pushing back in across England and Wales, I think. Temperatures in the south relatively mild again, around 9-10 degrees. Cooler further north though, temperatures there around 4 or 5. And then on into Thursday, well, cold air begins to start pushing back into Scotland. Meanwhile, we've got more low pressure in the Atlantic waiting to head in across the country. Thursday probably the quietest day of the week, with more in west sunny spells. There will still be showers in the north and west. As this cold air begins to dig into Scotland, most showers probably turn increasingly wintry across central and northern parts of Scotland. Temperatures ranging from just 2 degrees in the far north to around 10 degrees on the south coast. 10 is 50 in Fahrenheit. And then we get through into Friday. Low pressure comes back in from off the Atlantic, so Northern Ireland, England, Wales will have a wet Friday. This is the eve of Christmas Eve, of course. So wet for Friday with outbreaks of heavy and persistent rain for Ireland, England and Wales. Scotland will be drier, brighter and colder, with showers turning increasingly into snow across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. On the leading edge of this wet weather, which is probably going to be southwestern Scotland, maybe Northern Ireland and the far north of England, though this is subject to change. If below is further south, then of course the boundary will be further south. But on that boundary, there could actually be some snow as this rain bumps into that cold air that's digging back into Scotland. So from Friday it'll begin to get a little bit sketchy, but it looks like the south will be mild and wet, with temperatures probably up to around 9, 10, 11 degrees again. Scotland will be cold though, barely above freezing across the far north of Scotland. And then that takes us through into Christmas, and remember this is our first stab at it, so this is subject to change. But Christmas Eve, Saturday, looks generally wet for much of England and Wales, I think. Cold for Scotland on the leading edge again. There might be a little bit of snow. That's likely to be somewhere around southwest of Scotland, Northern Ireland, maybe the far north of England. Could be a little bit further north or south of that. And then into Christmas Day, it looks like we get rid of those areas of low pressure. We get a ridge building across the country. That will be within colder air, so probably turning colder overnight Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, with a main dry Christmas Day, although there could be snow showers for Scotland and a few winter showers around eastern coastal areas, maybe. But otherwise, a drier day for Christmas Day, but probably rather colder. Again, this is subject to change. It's a complex weather pattern that we've got setting up here just before Christmas, so I will watch this space. There could be changes on that idea. Finally, just have a look at charts for weather out, see weather in your area. So lots of dry weather around today, but we have got these wind showers in northwest, rain, sleet, snow across northwest England and into Wales as well. Tomorrow we have outbreaks of rain pushing north and eastwards, turning to snow in the north and on the leading edge, eventually becoming very mild in the southwest, but otherwise actually quite a cold day again tomorrow. But by the time we get through to Monday, we're all looking much milder with showery outbreaks of rain, and then the unsettled, milder conditions carry on through the rest of the week with further rain coming and going at times. Eventually, though, by the end of next week, it turns colder again across Scotland, and we set up a boundary between mild and wet weather in the south and colder and more wintry weather up in the north. So in summary, it's a week of change. The cold spell is pretty much on the way out. So we're starting off cold today. We're going to have outbreaks of rain, sleet and snow, possibly freezing rain as well tomorrow. And then that is the end of the cold spell. We're into milder, wetter, windier weather as we go through much of next week. However, by the end of next week, colder air will be starting to dig back into Scotland. And so I think it's still a case perhaps of watch this space for Christmas. And next week's weekend forecast will cover the full Christmas to New Year period. Of course, we always do the weekend forecast on Christmas Eve, and hopefully this year Christmas Eve is on Saturday. So we'll have the full weekend forecast for the entire Christmas to New Year period for you next week. I'll be back later on with the 10 to 14 day. That will include all of the regular features, so come back for that then. But for this week's weekend forecast, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.